Good afternoon, everybody. I think there were already some references to the European Bauhaus. So, quickly, I mean, the ambition is to support a movement towards beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive places and ways of living. So it's not just about buildings; it goes far beyond buildings. It's about the whole place, as Thomas said, in a systemic way, and the ways of living that get with it. So. In another way, by 2050, the idea is not only to have a climate neutral EU or Europe, but also a more inclusive one, and fundamentally a more enjoyable one. So this initiative is also to connect with people and make sure that the Green Deal becomes something which is tangible. And that's why we focus on the daily, our daily lives, basically. Yeah, whether you live in a rural or an urban area, the European Bauhaus is an invitation really to think about how you can transform the place you live in a more beautiful, sustainable and inclusive way. So it's about integrating three dimensions, and the sustainability, the inclusion and the aesthetic, that is what people need and call beyond the functionality. Yeah? I think Kirsten mentioned this. And it's not only style, this might be also meaning. This might be the fact that it connects with a sense of belonging, relations with the community. So there are many things that people expect from the places in the daily life that are beyond functionality, and we want to bring this into the equation. And we also believe that integrating those three dimensions is fundamental. A lot of initiatives look at either sustainability, climate goals, circularity, zero pollution, biodiversity. Separately, they look at inclusion aspects, equality, accessibility, affordability, and then on another stream, you will get something about culture. But we believe that the projects that tackle from the outset those three dimensions at the same time deliver more for people. And that's why we have put this triangle as a compass for the initiative. Of course, the challenge is to get impact, and we want to get impact at three levels. The places on the ground, so the places and the communities on the ground that get transformed through concrete projects. The enabling ecosystem, so we've been talking about, for example, the construction sector. Clearly, there are needs for changing the environment, but that can be also legislation to make sure that it is conducive to the kind of new solutions we need. And last but not least, we need to work on the mindset, on the narratives, and on the new meanings that are needed. It's a matter of mobilizing education, culture, but also perhaps looking at how we tell the story of the transformation. So we started this journey focusing on people. If we want this to be close to people, we've got to start with people, and we've started with a 6 months co-design phase. And interestingly, we among the more than 2,000 inputs that we have collected through the 6 months, most comes from individuals and small actors at local level, so which is at times unusual for European initiatives. So it shows that people can be enthusiastic about the tackling of the challenges we have if you take it from the perspective of values. And what they told us allowed us to structure the future of the European Bauhaus Initiative around a number of thematic axes. So people tell us they want to reconnect to nature at a deeper level. So it's not just having some green on the balcony or in a public space. It's really rethinking our position towards nature in a life-centric way and not only human-centric way. They also told us that they wish the rethinking of places to be an opportunity to regain a sense of belonging. So the community is at the core of what I think, but also relationship with the cultural heritage, with meanings, I think is very strong. They also told us that we should concentrate on places and people that need it the most. So it's not something that should be for green ghettos in rich cities, but that's something that should really look at the places that need a deeper transformation to benefit from regeneration, and for the people also that are perhaps outside these transformations. They also, of course, told us that they need another environment to thrive, and they need, in particular, a life cycle thinking in the industrial ecosystem. So the idea for us is to continue after this design phase to work with people in a way that engage and empower them. So first dimension is probably a question of narrative. A lot of the narrative about climate goals or the climate challenges is a bit about the risk of a catastrophe. And it has at times the result of disempowering people. So we want to have a narrative which is focusing on the change as it happens, where it happens, so that people get a sense that it is possible to transform and it is possible for them to contribute. And so we had, as an example, the European Bauhaus Prize edition, where we have 20 prizes that have been given. And what was very interesting is that we did not celebrate fantastic architects and out of the ordinary big things, but on the contrary, we had a lot of community-based projects that have projected or young people ideas that are projecting this sense of shared ownership of the transformation and capacity to operate in this remit. And we're going to develop the concept of a festival for the European Bauhaus to continue to nurture this idea that this is something we can do together. We have also gathered a community of partners, which is very interesting. We have, for the time being, 270 official partners, and it is still growing. And here, what is interesting is that it's multi-level. We have small grassroots organizations that cross international organizations or big networks. And we have actors in many different fields. So it's highly multidisciplinary or multisectoral. And so that's also something which is an asset for the future to continue to work with people. Of course, all of this comes with challenges. And I would just highlight three. One is how to work across silos. And it starts in the Commission. We have a complex policy ecosystem. How do we make sure that we bridge those various policy fields and we do something which is coherent? We have no European Bauhaus program, so we're going to use also many tools. How do we ensure coherence? How do we ensure that we share the learnings and that we optimize our interventions? So that's very interesting. If I just take one example, if I look at the many actions which exist at EU level that target cities, I don't know how cities get organized to really benefit from all of this and understand what are the different possibilities. So there's a room to progress, but the same challenge of working across silos is faced by the member states. If we ask them to better harness the possibilities that come from either the cohesion policy funding or the recovery and resilience plans to boost this transformation, how can they put their act together in this kind of working across silos? So it's true also at regional and local level. It's at times easier to develop a project in splendid isolation. How do you make sure that you bring the communities in? How do you ensure that you tackle the three dimensions at the same time? And here there's a lot of exchange of experience and capacity building that is needed. Second challenge is the relationship to innovation. At EU level, when we speak about innovation, we often think about the accelerator model for new technologies. But what we need for the kind of transformation we have in mind with the European Bauhaus is probably different. We need a model which is innovative in the way to use what already exists around us. So it's a mix of high-tech, of low-tech, or even no-tech solution, and an ability to recombine those elements in something that is meaningful for a particular context. And so I don't know whether we have the right model for this, and this is something that we are struggling with. And the third challenge is something that Kirsten has mentioned also, is how do we reach out to those that need it the most, but probably that are the most at distance from this transformation. So here it's the challenge of getting out of the kind of green bubble or elite bubble and how we engage with those people. So in a nutshell, what are the few things that we're going to try to do to answer those challenges is, of course, we have a number of calls and instruments that have been mobilized, and we are going to promote them. But fundamentally, we want also to experiment on a new form of participatory delivery. So we're going to launch an European Bauhaus lab, which is a way to not only work with a community of interested parties on a number of topics that we believe are critical for the success of the initiative, and we identified some in the Commission communication adopted last month, but also to see the emergence of topics and activities in the Bauhaus community, the European Bauhaus community, that can help us to develop new prototypes, new methods and new tools, and connecting them to testing grounds in local places in cities and rural areas. So that's an experiment to see how we can share the shaping of the agenda with the community and connect the thinking with the doing on the ground. We will also test how we can call for initiatives without any funding. That is, what we learned also from the design phase is that funding is one of the things people need, of course, but they value a lot access to network, access to public recognition, access to knowledge. And I think we are going to experience how we can work on those dimensions. And last but not least, we'll work on how we share the story of the European Bauhaus as a story of the change on the go, and not something which is just something where we report at the end. So that's in a nutshell where we are with our thinking on the in the initiative, and what we commit to also is to be very transparent on our learnings and hopefully adapt over time. So we will report already next year on the dynamic of the project.